Squirrel Cove is located about 8 miles east of Whittier and is an amazing place to visit, but there are no roads in or out, so it feels very private and remote. Winter camping adds to the uniqueness of the area. Today we are taking my son and a group of boys out to explore Squirrel Cove for some winter camping. We see the Forest Service cabin, tent platforms, start up a sauna tent for some polar plunges, and see the northern lights. First, we round everybody up and get all the gear packed onto the bow of the boat. I give everybody a debrief as we make our way through Passage Canal out to Squirrel Cove. It's important to keep everybody safe on adventures like this. Squirrel Cove is located in Prince William Sound in south central Alaska. From Whittier, head east in your boat or kayak past Shotgun Cove. Squirrel Cove is the last cove on the south side of Passage Canal before you reach Decision Point. This camera shot looks east past Decision Point into Prince William Sound. The camera rotates, showing the north shore of Passage Canal, and then south into Squirrel Cove. Squirrel Cove is a small cove that is open to Passage Canal and has a Forest Service cabin on its west shore. Shotgun Cove and Hollow Bight are west of Squirrel Cove. There are a few rock obstructions in the cove, but these are easy to avoid just by knowing their general location.
Beaching your boat can be really convenient for bringing in and offloading supplies, but there's a couple of things that are an issue in Squirrel Cove. First and foremost being that it's so shallow. Trying to beach at low tide is very, very difficult. We tried to do that and we couldn't get our boat within about 10 feet of the shore. At higher tides, it would seem to be a little bit easier. Our boat's relatively long at 38 feet, so the motors sit 38, even 40 feet behind the bow of the boat, and we were only about 12 inches off the ground, so we really didn't have much clearance for our props. But I do think that at higher tide, it's easier to beach your boat. You have a little bit more water to work with, but as you can see behind me, it's really shallow for quite a ways out.
As you can see, as close as we got in, I even pushed the boat onto the shore as much as possible. This is as far in as we can get. So we had our friends take some big rocks, make a little walkway out there, but still, you need to have some water boots on to get from the boat to the beach, even if you're beaching it like this. Most people get a dinghy or tender, anchor out in Squirrel Cove, and then take the dinghy or tender in. That's usually the best way to do it. So it is a little tricky to beach your boat in here, but it can be done. I mean, we are fortunate that we have stairs that drop down off our bow. Most boats don't have that, but still, my last boat didn't have that, and we'd still beach. You can see our anchored spot here. Our sonar measures 32.5 foot of depth, and I didn't want to go any more shallow than that, and I also wanted to anchor in a spot that we could easily see our boat from the campsite. I got the boat anchored out there and took the paddleboard back into shore. Once I got up here to the cabin, the kids are already all gone. They're just totally disappeared. And that's the beauty about being in a place like this, and that's what boys are supposed to do. Nobody's on their iPhone, nobody's looking at video games. Everyone just took off and is exploring the area.
There's a big frozen lake, and
Is it thick enough to walk on it?
so far.
All right. Nobody's fallen through yet. That's good.
You know, because like these are, we have a kind of a look to them, and then over here it's just completely different.
But this is what you call hoarfrost, right?
Well, that's what I call it when it's on the trees like this.
These boardwalks are connected to 4 different tent platforms that you can set up tents like these guys did. The tent sites have their own outhouse facility that you can use, and then the cabin is further towards the entrance to the bay. The cabin has its own outhouse facility and some really amazing overlook on the back side of the cabin. The Squirrel Cove cabin's heated by a kerosene stove. Here's the tank for the kerosene. When we came, there's a little bit of kerosene in it. We brought a can of kerosene with us. I highly recommend just bringing your own kerosene because you don't know if this is going to be full or not. The Forest Service cabin it's available to rent year-round, but it's really highly sought over during the summer months. So, we're here in January, and it was wide open to book in January. So, come on out, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I got poked because, well, yeah, you can't really see anything, but I had to grab it because my foot got stuck.
Devil's Cove or
I think it was a pine tree.
Max almost grabbed Devil's Cove. Devil's Cove sucks because it's like a little thorn and then it like stings.
Rip that apart.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Nice job. You did it, dude. We actually got smoke coming. Nice job, guys. I'm hearing some crackling of some fire. Oh, good job, guys. Doesn't get much better than this.
We'll make it big. I think one time at about 2 feet of fresh snow.
All right, you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
You gotta be in the mood for this, okay? This is like an experience hearing this poem, okay? There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The northern lights have seen strange sights, but the strangest they ever did see was the night of the Marge at Lake LaBarge. I cremated Sam McGee. Now, Sam McGee is from Tennessee where the cotton blooms and blows. Why he left his home in the south to roam around the pole, God only knows. He was always cold, but the land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell, though he'd often say in his homely way that he'd sooner live in hell.
As everyone went to sleep for the night, I set up my camera to take long exposure pictures of the northern lights. The clouds added to the aurora and made it that much more unique. I slept on the boat to make sure that nothing happened to the boat overnight. Notice two things in the time lapse. First, notice how shallow the coast is at low tide. And second, notice how much the boat swings on anchor. Even though the wind was very mild, there was still a steady wind out of the south pulling the boat toward Passage Canal all night.
Anchoring in Squirrel Cove is relatively straightforward, but there's a couple of nuances that need to be understood. First is the east shore behind me. There's rocks all up and down, actually pretty large rocks all up and down the shore, and the east shore should just be avoided. Cabin and all the tent sites are on the west shore, and there's no major rocks along the west shore except at the very entrance of the bay. The center of the cove is the deepest section, and that's the obvious place to anchor. A couple of things to keep in mind is the shoreline, especially the west shore and the head of the bay in Squirrel Cove are very, very shallow. And the problem is if you anchor your boat too close into shore, you run the risk of the boat running dry when the tide goes out. If the boat runs dry, it could settle on the ground, run dry, and possibly tip over. When the tide comes in, it could flood your boat and sink your boat, and that would be obviously a very bad day. I anchored my boat at around high tide in 30 feet of water. Low tide is about 20 feet of water. Makes sense. The tide went down about 10 feet. Although there's some protection in Squirrel Cove, there's not much protection here. In fact, it's wide open to the north. Squirrel Cove accepts big swells, wind, all from the north and the east. That can have some significant effect on your boat and the anchorage. The other thing to understand is Squirrel Cove drops off precipitously as you go out into Passage Canal. So if we're anchoring in 30 feet or 60 feet of water, that's great. But the problem is if you get a south wind that pulls you north towards Passage Canal and you start dragging anchor, Passage Canal is 1,000 feet deep or can get up to 1,000 feet deep or more. And so if you're dragging anchor and it pulls you and it pulls your boat out towards Passage Canal, your boat could float away. So there's just things to remember. Every time I anchor, I'm just nervous about everything, checking everything, making sure that everything's safe. I'm not gonna hit any rocks. I'm not gonna run dry. I'm not gonna drag anchor and my boat get pulled off to some place where I really don't want my boat going.
It was like where we were breathing.
Yeah, condensation.
Yeah, condensation and moisture. It just got our sleeping bags all wet. So we actually brought 2 sleeping bags, and we put one over, like, we brought like a nice one, and then we like kind of like a not so nice one.
Yeah.
And then we put the not so nice one on top, so that one got wet, and then the other one stayed dry. And so then we were like way more warm. And then we packed up the wet ones first so they didn't freeze.
Nice, good job. Not bad for camping beginning of January, right? Did you guys stay pretty warm?
Yeah, it was pretty warm. I mean,
Nice.
yeah, the face was a little bit cold, but
Your face was cold?
yeah.
But you didn't get wet from the condensation, right?
No, you didn't get wet, just the sleeping bag.
Yeah, you really don't get brown bears or grizzlies out in this area, but there's a ton of black bears. Trust me, I know that from experience. Last year we had a black bear swim into the harbor, onto the dock, and then get into our boat, pulled open the door to our boat, got inside our boat, and ransacked the whole place. So I know all about black bears out here. They try and terrorize me. I don't want this to fall. Nice and flat. Finally, I think we're ready. All right. Here we go. Let's turn this off. All right, challenge these kids to start a fire in this tent stove. This is technically a sauna tent. If we actually did get this going, it'd be pretty amazing. We could try it out, see if it really does cook you like a sauna. Good job, guys. Looks like we're getting success, isn't it? Yeah. Pretty good there. Oh yeah. Go for it, buddy. Sauna tent. It's cooking. Go, go, go.
The last thing to do is use the paddleboard and retrieve the boat so we can pack up before some rough weather rolls in. There's so many things to experience and explore in Alaska. Rain, winter, cold weather are not going to stop us. There are just too many unique things to do and see. We love this land and want to see the wilderness thrive. It is important to give the next generation a love for the outdoors so they will want to preserve it also. Until next time, keep getting outside and exploring.